Welcome back to the deep dive. Ever wonder if we could actually code the law?
It sounds like something out of science fiction,
It
right?
does. But today,
It really
we're
does.
going to explore this new programming language.
I,
It's doing just that,
yeah,
specifically for tax law.
it's called CATALA.
Catala?
And it's changing the way we think about,
Yeah.
taxes
Yeah.
and the very nature of law itself.
Exactly.
What's fascinating about this is
Yeah.
you likely already use formalized tax law
Oh, yeah,
without even realizing it.
for sure.
Every time you
Yep.
fire up that tax preparation software or meticulously fill out an IRS form,
Oh, I hate those.
you're interacting with a formalized version of the tax code,
Right.
translated into something a computer can understand.
That's true. But here's the catch.
Yeah.
Those forms, and even some software, can be surprisingly inaccurate
They can be.
and oversimplified, not truly capturing the complexities of the tax code. And that lack of transparency can have real consequences
Sure.
for all of us.
Yeah. And that's where CATALA comes in.
Yeah.
It aims to address those shortcomings by creating a more accurate,
Okay.
transparent, and accountable system for tax administration.
Okay, so tell me, what makes CATALA so special?
One of the key features of CATALA
Yeah.
is its use of default logic.
Okay.
It's a type of logic that's better suited for handling the
Yeah.
if this, then that, unless this other thing structure of legal code.
Yeah.
Kind of like how we reason in everyday life.
So instead of just having like a bunch of rules,
Wow.
it can also handle all the exceptions to those rules.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Tax law is full of general rules,
Mhm.
followed by a long list of exceptions.
Right.
And then exceptions to those exceptions.
Yeah.
Think of it like this. The classic example of default logic is all birds can fly,
Yeah.
except penguins. Traditional logic systems struggle with this kind of reasoning,
Okay.
but default logic handles it beautifully.
I see what you mean. Our sources actually use Section 121 of the U.S. tax code,
Yeah.
which deals with selling your home as an example of this complexity.
It's a perfect example.
Okay.
You have the general rule.
Yeah.
You can exclude a certain amount of profit from the sale of your primary residence.
Okay.
Sounds straightforward, right?
Yeah.
But then you dive into a rabbit hole of exceptions and limitations.
Oh, boy.
What if you're married?
Okay.
What if you lived in the house for less than 2 years?
Gotcha.
What if you used part of the house for business?
It sounds like those what-ifs
Yeah.
really trip you up.
They absolutely can. And traditional formalizations
Yeah.
often oversimplify these nuances,
Right.
potentially leading to errors.
Wow.
CATALA, with its default logic, can capture all those exceptions
Okay.
and the back and forth nature of the law
Yeah.
much more accurately.
Okay.
It's like having a legal expert built into the code itself.
Wow. So it's not just about crunching numbers.
Right.
It's about understanding the logic
It is, exactly.
behind the law.
And this focus on accuracy
Yeah.
is
Okay.
essential for ensuring that the tax code is applied fairly
Okay.
and consistently. It's about creating a level playing field
Yeah.
where everyone is treated
Right.
according to the true spirit of the law.
I can see how that would be incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
But our sources also mention an anecdote about a programmer working on the CATALA project
Uh-huh.
who initially misunderstood a part of the law.
Right.
It sounds like it wasn't as simple as just plugging the law into a computer.
That anecdote highlights a crucial point about CATALA.
Okay.
It's not just a programmer's tool.
Right.
It requires collaboration between lawyers and programmers.
Okay.
In this instance, the coder was working on formalizing a section
Yeah.
about discharge of indebtedness income,
Discharge. Oh.
which is basically when
Yeah.
you're forgiven of a debt.
Okay, so like if a credit card company
Exactly.
decides to forgive some of your debt.
Well, the coder mistakenly thought the law was about the person repaying the debt,
Okay.
when it was actually about the person whose debt was forgiven.
Oh, I see.
It was the lawyer on the team who caught the error,
Right.
emphasizing the importance of having both legal expertise
Yeah.
and programming skills
Yeah.
working in tandem.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You need someone who understands the law
Yeah.
and someone who can translate that into code.
Yep.
So this CATALA project is all about teamwork.
It is.
What else makes it so unique?
CATAL has 3 main elements
Okay.
that make it such a powerful tool for formalizing tax law.
Okay. Tell me more about these elements.
First, CATALA is a domain-specific language,
Okay.
which means it's specifically designed for working with legal texts,
Right.
especially tax law.
Yeah.
It's not a general-purpose language
Okay.
like Python or Java. Think of it like this. If you want to write a poem,
Okay.
you'd probably use a language
Yeah.
that's rich in metaphors and imagery.
Okay.
Not one designed for building websites.
Gotcha.
CATALA is crafted to speak the language of the law,
Right.
making it far more efficient and accurate at
Yes.
translating complex legal concepts
Makes sense.
into code.
So it's like having a specialized tool for
Yeah.
a specialized job.
Exactly.
What about the second element?
That would be pair programming,
Okay.
which we just touched on.
Yeah.
Having a lawyer and programmer work side by side to create the code.
Right.
It's like having a legal translator
Okay.
built right into the development process.
Right.
The lawyer ensures the code accurately reflects the law's nuances,
Okay.
while the programmer brings their technical expertise
Yeah.
to build a robust and functional program.
So it's a true partnership, leveraging the strengths of both fields.
It is.
And the third element.
The third element is literate programming,
Okay.
and it's all about transparency. Unlike traditional code, that's often dense
Yeah.
and difficult to decipher.
Right.
CATALA code is designed to be human readable.
Human readable.
Yeah.
You mean even I could understand it?
Well, maybe not you specifically,
Okay.
but the idea is that anyone with a basic understanding of the law
Okay.
should be able to follow the logic of the code.
That's impressive. How do they achieve that?
CATALA code incorporates the actual text of the law itself,
Okay.
along with clear explanations
Yeah.
of the code's logic.
Okay.
Think of it as heavily annotated code,
Okay.
where every step is clearly explained and justified. If the coders have to deviate from the exact wording of the law,
Right.
for example, to resolve an ambiguity,
Right.
they document their reasoning
Yeah.
right there in the code.
Okay.
It's like having a built-in audit trail
Oh, wow.
that shows exactly how the law was translated into code.
That's a fantastic feature for ensuring accountability.
It is.
It's a far cry from those opaque forms
Like,
and worksheets we were talking about earlier.
Absolutely.
That's a great point.
and it's a critical step toward building trust in the system.
Right.
After all, if you can't understand how the law is being implemented,
Yeah.
how can you trust that it's being applied fairly?
That's a great point. So we've got this amazing new tool, CATALA,
Right.
that uses default logic, pair programming,
Uh-huh.
and literate programming to tackle the complexities of tax law.
Right.
It sounds incredibly promising, but how does all of this work in practice?
Our sources delve into a specific example
Okay.
of pair programming in action
Mm-hmm.
using the same section
Okay.
on discharge of indebtedness income,
Right. We discussed earlier.
which debt is forgiven, not the person paying.
Exactly. Well, as they continued working through the code with the lawyer,
Yeah.
they encountered another interesting challenge.
Yep.
This time,
Yeah.
it involved the definition of insolvent.
Insolvent as in like not having enough money to pay your debts.
That's right. Now, this seemingly minor detail
Okay.
actually highlights a major challenge.
In computational law, translating the nuances of human language
Right.
into precise code.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this insolvent dilemma.
Well, the tax code defines insolvent
Okay.
as the excess of liabilities
Okay.
over the fair market value of assets.
Right.
Seems simple enough, right?
Oh, yeah.
But when you try to plug that definition directly into code,
Right.
it creates nonsensical statements.
Okay.
You can't say someone is the excess of something. They are in a state of insolvency.
So the law actually says someone is the excess of their liabilities.
It does.
That sounds like something
It does, doesn't it?
out of a logic puzzle.
And it illustrates how even seemingly straightforward legal definitions
Right.
can be tricky to translate into precise code.
So how did they solve this problem?
Both the coder and lawyer realized they couldn't simply copy and paste the legal definition.
Right.
They had to interpret the law
Okay.
and use their judgment
Right.
to express it in a way that made logical sense within the code.
Right.
They ended up writing code that checked if the taxpayer had an excess of liabilities,
Okay.
rather than using the exact wording from the statute.
So they had to use a bit of creativity to bridge the gap
Exactly.
between legal language and computer code.
And that's where literate programming really shines.
Okay.
They documented this deviation
Right.
from the literal definition
Right.
and explained their reasoning in the code itself.
Okay.
This transparency allows anyone examining the code
Right.
to understand the choices made
Yeah.
and ensure accountability.
That's fascinating. It seems like CATALA is not just about automating the law,
Right.
but also about improving our understanding of it.
Precisely.
By forcing us to translate legal concepts into precise code,
Yeah.
it can reveal hidden ambiguities and
Yes.
inconsistencies in the law itself.
Absolutely.
This has been a really enlightening look
Yeah.
into the world of CATALA and computational law.
Yeah, it's a fascinating field.
I'm starting to see how this could revolutionize how we interact with the tax code.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling we've only just scratched the surface.
You're absolutely right. The potential of CATALA extends far beyond just formalizing specific sections of the law.
Right.
It has the potential to reshape tax administration
Okay.
and change how we think about the relationship between law and technology as a whole.
Can't wait to delve deeper into those potential impacts
Yeah,
in the next part of our deep dive.
should be interesting.
Stay tuned.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring how this revolutionary programming language, CATALA,
Yeah.
is changing the game for tax law.
Uh-huh.
It's not just about automating calculations. It's about making the logic of the law itself
Right.
more transparent and accessible.
It is indeed. And that accessibility has the potential to create a more equitable tax system,
Okay.
especially for those
Yeah.
who find the current system overwhelming.
You're talking about folks who maybe can't afford
Yeah.
to hire expensive tax professional.
Exactly. Imagine a world where the government
Yeah.
could offer free online tax preparation services
Right.
that are not only user-friendly, but also incredibly accurate
Right.
because they're directly based on this formalized,
Right.
unambiguous code.
Yeah.
It would be a huge step toward leveling the playing field
Right.
and making the tax system fairer for everyone.
It's like having a personal tax expert in your pocket.
Right.
Available to anyone, regardless of income.
Exactly.
That would be revolutionary.
It would indeed. And because CATALA is all about transparency,
Yeah.
it also has the potential to hold the government accountable
Okay.
for how tax law is implemented.
Okay.
With the code being public, taxpayers and watchdog groups could actually see
Right.
how the law is being translated into action, ensuring fairness
Right.
and identifying potential biases.
It's like shining a light on the inner workings of the tax system, ensuring that everything is running as it should.
Exactly.
That's an incredible benefit.
It is.
But our sources also point out that any powerful tool can be misused.
Right.
And CATALA is no exception.
Uh-huh.
There's a potential for it to be used for less than noble purposes, right?
That's true. As with any technology, there's always the risk
Yeah.
of unintended consequences.
Right.
And in the wrong hands, CATALA could potentially be exploited
Okay.
to create even more sophisticated tax shelters.
Tax shelters, those intricate schemes designed to minimize tax liability,
Uh-huh.
sometimes pushing the boundaries of legality.
Yeah.
So are we talking about a potential arms race here,
Kind of, yeah.
where we need ever more powerful tools
Right.
to combat the misuse of powerful tools?
That's a good analogy.
Okay.
CATALA's ability to analyze complex legal scenarios
Right?
could make it easier to find and exploit loopholes
Yeah.
in the tax code,
Right.
potentially even leading to the creation of entirely new tax shelters.
That's a sobering thought. So how do we prevent that?
Well, the key is for the government to be proactive.
Okay.
Imagine if they had their own version of the tax code
Yeah.
built using CATALA
Okay.
that they could use to identify potential vulnerabilities
Okay.
before they're exploited.
So it's like having a cybersecurity team for the tax code
Uh-huh.
constantly on the lookout for weaknesses
Right.
and patching them up before anyone can take advantage.
Precisely. By spotting these loopholes early on,
Yeah.
the government could address them proactively,
Right.
potentially preventing new tax shelters
Right.
from emerging in the first place.
That sounds like a smart strategy, but wouldn't it raise concerns about transparency?
Well,
If only the government had access to this powerful code?
it's a valid point,
Yeah.
and it underscores the importance of finding the right balance
Right.
between security and
Yeah.
transparency.
Right.
One potential solution
Yeah.
is for the government to make their version of the code open source,
Okay.
inviting scrutiny from academics,
Right.
watchdog groups,
Okay.
and even individual citizens.
That would certainly promote transparency
It would.
and encourage a collaborative approach
Yeah.
to tax administration.
Uh-huh.
But wouldn't making the code public also make it easier for those looking to exploit the system?
It's a delicate balancing act.
Yeah.
Open sourcing the code could potentially make it easier for some to find loopholes,
Right.
but it also creates a system of checks and balances
Okay.
with many eyes scrutinizing the code to
Right.
ensure it's fair and accurate.
Right.
Having a multitude of perspectives,
Yeah.
analyzing the code,
Right.
could help identify and address potential issues more effectively.
It seems like the benefits of transparency and collaboration might outweigh the risks in this case.
It might.
Our sources actually highlight a real-world tax shelter case,
Okay.
the Summa Holdings case,
Right.
to illustrate how a tool like CATALA
Yeah.
could be used for both good and ill. Can you walk us through that?
Certainly. The Summa Holdings case involved a family
Okay.
that used a series of complex transactions to funnel money
Yeah.
into Roth IRAs,
Yeah.
exceeding the normal contribution limits.
Right.
Roth IRAs are designed to help people save for retirement
Right.
with the advantage of tax-free growth.
Right.
So there are rules about how much you can contribute each year.
I can see why someone might want to sneak a little extra cash into one of those.
I think we all would.
But this wasn't just like a small oversight, was it?
Not at all. This was a highly intricate scheme
Okay.
that exploited the complexities of the tax code. The family used a type of corporation called a DISC,
Okay.
originally intended to incentivize exports
Okay.
to move money through a series of transactions
Right.
and ultimately into their children's Roth IRAs.
So they were exploiting a loophole that was probably never intended
Exactly.
by lawmakers.
And while the family technically followed the letter of the law, the court recognized that their actions were clearly aimed at tax avoidance.
Right.
What's interesting is that the judge, while upholding the legality of the structure,
Okay.
actually expressed concern about the complexity of the tax code
Right.
and how it can be manipulated by those with the resources to decipher its intricacies.
Right.
That's where a program like CATALA
Right.
could come into play.
Yeah.
It could make those complex tax avoidance strategies more transparent,
Right.
potentially allowing the government to identify and address them
Right.
more effectively.
And that brings us back to the double-edged sword of computational law.
Yeah.
By making the tax code more computationally accessible,
Uh-huh.
CATALA could help prevent
Right.
complex tax shelters like the one in the Summa Holdings case.
Yeah.
But it also raises the possibility
Mhm.
that more individuals could attempt such strategies, even without fully understanding the implications.
It's like giving everyone access to a powerful financial tool. It can be used for good or ill,
Yeah.
and it requires a great deal of responsibility.
And that's why the government's role in overseeing and regulating computational law is so crucial. It's about finding ways to empower taxpayers with knowledge and tools,
Right.
while also safeguarding the integrity of the system.
Indeed. We're navigating uncharted territory here,
Yeah.
balancing the potential benefits of this amazing technology
Right.
with the need for responsible oversight.
It seems like we're...
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The future of tax law and law in general is being reshaped by technology.
Yeah.
And as we move towards a world where more and more legal processes are computationally driven,
Yeah.
it's crucial to have these conversations
Right.
about ethics, access,
Yeah.
and the evolving relationship between humans and the law.
This has been a truly eye-opening conversation.
It has.
It's clear that CATALA and computational law have the potential to revolutionize how we interact with the tax code.
Yeah.
But it also raises some profound questions about
Of course.
fairness, transparency,
Yeah,
and the very nature of law itself.
absolutely. And these are questions we'll continue to explore in the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we'll delve into the broader implications
Okay.
of coding the code and what it means for the future of law
Right.
and society as a whole.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been on quite a journey exploring the world of CATALA,
It has been, yeah.
this revolutionary programming language that's formalizing tax law.
Uh-huh.
It's clear that CATALA has the potential to make taxes fairer, more transparent,
Right.
and even easier to understand.
For sure.
But as we've discussed,
Yeah.
it also raises some profound questions about the future of law itself.
It does indeed. We're not just talking about like a technical upgrade here.
Right.
This is a potential paradigm shift
Yeah.
in how we understand and interact with the very concept of law. If we can code the law,
Yeah.
does that mean law is simply
Yeah.
a set of algorithms?
Right.
And what happens to
Yeah.
human judgment and interpretation
Right.
in this brave new world?
Those are some seriously big questions.
They are.
It's mind-boggling to think that,
It is.
We might be on the verge of such a fundamental change.
We are.
But as our sources point out, with any new technology, especially one this powerful, there's always the risk of unintended consequences.
Absolutely.
Right.
No matter how carefully you code the law, there's always the possibility that the code will produce outcomes that were not foreseen or intended by the lawmakers who crafted the original legislation.
So it's like those software bugs that can cause all sorts of unexpected problems, but on a much larger scale because we're dealing with the law.
Exactly. A bug in a program that's handling tax calculations could potentially affect millions of taxpayers.
Oh, wow.
Leading to unfair outcomes or even financial hardship.
Right.
So it's crucial that any system that formalizes the law is rigorously tested and validated to minimize the risk of errors.
It sounds like we need a whole new level of quality control. We're talking about coding the law. But even with the most robust testing, wouldn't there still be a chance for misinterpretations or unforeseen circumstances?
There always will be.
Right.
That's where the human element remains essential.
Okay.
Coding the law doesn't eliminate the need for lawyers and judges to interpret and apply the law.
Right.
Especially in complex or nuanced situations.
So it's not about replacing human judgment with algorithms.
No.
It's about creating a more precise and transparent framework within which human judgment can operate.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's about creating a partnership between human legal expertise and computational power.
Okay.
The code provides the structure, ensuring consistency and clarity, while humans provide the context, interpretation, and flexibility to adapt to real-world situations.
It's like having a powerful new tool that allows legal experts to do their jobs even more effectively. But this shift also suggests that the role of lawyers and even legal education might need to evolve in a world where computational law is becoming increasingly important.
Absolutely. Law schools might need to start incorporating more computer science and coding into their curricula.
Right.
Future lawyers will need to be comfortable working with code.
Right.
Understanding not just the what of the law, but also the how of its implementation.
It's fascinating to think about this intersection of law and technology. And as you said, it's not just a technical issue, it's a societal issue.
It is with broad implications.
For sure.
We need to have a public conversation about the values and principles that should guide the development and implementation of computational law.
I completely agree.
Right.
Questions of fairness, transparency, accountability, and the potential impact on different segments of society need to be front and center in this conversation.
Right.
We need to ensure that computational law is used to promote justice and equality, not to exacerbate existing inequalities.
It's a huge responsibility.
It is.
And it's going to require collaboration between legal experts, technologists, policymakers, and the public.
And the public, exactly.
We need to think carefully about who has access to this code, how it's used, and what safeguards are in place to prevent misuse.
Exactly. And that brings us back to that thought-provoking question posed by our sources. If law can be coded, who should have access to that code? And how can we ensure it's used ethically and fairly?
That's a question we all need to ponder.
We do.
As we enter this new era of computational law.
Right.
It's a challenge, but it's also an incredible opportunity.
It is.
To create a more just and equitable legal system.
Indeed. The future of law is being rewritten right before our eyes.
That's true.
And it's up to all of us to ensure that this transformation benefits society as a whole.
This has been a truly mind-expanding deep dive.
It has.
Into the world of CATALA and computational law.
Fascinating stuff.
Thank you for joining us on this journey.
Thanks for having me.
And we encourage you to continue exploring this fascinating
learning
and rapidly evolving field.
Absolutely.
Who knows? Maybe you'll be the one writing the code.
You could be.
That shapes the future of law.